Welcome to Countdown to Infinity, a Marvel's Avengers podcast. We talk all things Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's a big weekend for lovers of MCU films and lovers of ants because a new movie released. So obviously everybody knows that. Come on, if you're listening to this podcast and you're surprised that a new MCU movie thing came out, and you pull over listening to this in your car and you run to the nearest theater to buy a ticket. Before you continue, that's fine. That's super reasonable. Yeah. Also, you should have taken your car. You didn't need to get out of it. Probably would have been easier.
Yeah.
If you did that. We had a spoiler-free first reactions last week with Sophia, and we're going to have one this week with a different person and with a different tag other than spoiler-free, because we're going to be talking some spoiler-full first reactions with Brent. Brent, welcome back to Countdown to Infinity.
Hey,
you got you slapped. We both slapped some Pym particle circles on us.
Yeah,
a red one and a blue one. So Brent is doing this as a tiny little mouse size thing, and I am the size of a building.
But the explanation for the room I'm in is I have a hereditary style hobby of kind of like making real world depictions.
Size,
like small miniature versions of like just the places and events that happen to me in my home.
You're like the mom from Hereditary. That's your thing.
I'm exactly in so many ways. I'm like the mom from Hereditary.
A lot of tension here. I feel like you're resenting me a lot, but won't say it. That's a Hereditary joke, I guess. But this is not the Hereditary podcast, okay? That's a different podcast, and honestly, the downloads are pretty bad on that one. But this is a Marvel podcast. So, Brent, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, you just saw it. Probably an hour ago, less than an hour ago, you stepped out of the theater. What did you think about the movie?
Literally hot off the presses takes coming here, folks. Like, I was in the theater probably less than an hour ago as the kind of like post-credit scenes rolled, which we'll probably discuss here.
Which you stayed for, I assume, right?
I did. I saw it with my stepdad, who is not, he's not kind of keeping up. He's not keeping up with the Marvel thing. So it was very much one of those like, all right, okay, so this guy, okay, did you see Loki season 1? Okay, so this guy, da-da-da-da-da, and him being like, huh? Like, that's essentially what he said. And I was like, okay, I think Marvel might have some problems here, but that's a discussion we might get into.
You lost your keys? Where?
What?
Is that an ant? Why is his ant so big?
Loki!
What's this, a color picture?
Why are all those
making
guys
him much older?
Yeah.
Wait, is that not real? He thinks he's never seen a film, He's like...
Yeah, exactly. Where'd they film this thing? Not quite that old. He's an old man, but not quite that old. No, but yeah, okay. So I had a good time. It was a really fun movie. I'm kind of bummed that I saw it in 3D. We saw it at like I think it's like a redone Regal over there off for all the San Antonio heads. Here we go. 281 and 1604.
You're going to get doxxed.
Oh,
someone's going to you just said you left an hour ago. Someone's going to find this showtime, this record time from the metadata. They're going to scope out every home an hour from that theater, and they will find you.
Yep.
That's how our fans are.
Oh, I can't wait. Fucking dox me, fam. Let's go. Listen, I don't know if it was just like specific to my screening or whatever. 3D was bad. Audio was very low. It was like kind of uncomfortably low where I was like...
You might want the opposite of that in a movie theater.
Oh,
like you probably want great 3D and maybe quiet it down a little bit. Okay, we get it.
Yeah, it was... so it was kind of quiet and to where like you could kind of hear people around the theater just like conversationally speaking about things that were happening in the movie.
Coughing.
So like coughing and whatever, but none of that matters. I had a fun time with it. There's like a lot of kind of imagination and like beautiful kind of like images and stuff in this movie. I think like God, where to begin? I think like this movie is taking on a lot. It has a lot on its plate with what Marvel is kind of like setting up, because I could be wrong, but this is the first like Phase 5 movie, right?
It is. This kicked off
Yeah.
the new phase, and importantly, like it was a decision within Marvel and a request from I think Peyton Reed, the director, to say that because the original Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp kind of came out in between Avengers movies, and they were
Yeah.
kind of standalone. Sort of, they use Ant-Man. He plops in Civil War, and then he plops out. So I think Peyton Reed said, "Look, we don't want our movies to just be asides. We want to have like a big, important movie for the MCU, which
Yeah.
originally they gave to like Iron Man and Captain America." So it's the beginning of Phase 5, and they made sure it was Ant-Man because they wanted his character to be super important.
Yeah, they wanted to switch up the kind of what is it, like the batting order with this
Yeah,
one, and they kind of, to be fair, they did
they
wait
swung.
until Iron Man and Captain America were dead before
We're
they were
gone.
like,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
get Ant Man in here. He's first to bat.
Now, yeah,
Yeah.
and oddly enough, to that point, he may be. If I don't know how good this is, but he's like maybe the third or fourth most senior Avenger now. So he is incredibly important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like that's definitely kind of been a theme with like Jesus. I guess Phase 4 was really kind of primarily about like the old ushering in the new. Like if I had to like sum up, which it's a lot of things, Phase 4. Phase 4 is doing a lot of different things, but a big one is like, yeah, introducing new characters, new heroes. I mean, Ant-Man is doing that as well with Cassie. Older Cassie. She's a little more grown up now because of the blip, Scott being
She's
gone from
a
that whole thing.
she's a criminal, a
She's a
felon,
criminal
maybe.
too,
Who knows? Yeah,
like father, like daughter, I guess. Yeah, I really liked Cassie a lot. The cast is having a lot of fun. In particular, I thought this when he showed up in Loki. But Jonathan Majors, man, I just think like I really think that they hit a home run in kind of deciding on, at the very least an actor for their next kind of Thanos, especially with like what's teased. Excuse me. What's teased at the end of this movie with like the kind of like diverse styles of performances that we're going to get
I think
from.
it's called. I'm going to double check, but I think it's called the Council of Kangs.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is. The all of the variances of Kang, or all of the variances of Jonathan Majors, really.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think the one in this movie is a really great performance. Like, not really what I was expecting. It's like very it very much feels kind of like against the grain with kind of the typical Marvel heroes. Like, it's very understated and kind of quiet to the point where I was like, I know the volume's low in this movie, but like,
Yeah.
damn, dude, he's like really kind of underplaying it in a way that I thought was like really interesting and cool for like the usual kind of bombastic MCU thing. But yeah, there's a lot of fun moments. I guess we're in spoilers, but like
Yeah.
MODOK, the kind of stuff with MODOK I thought was like nuts and kind of a I don't know. It seems like it seems.
Were you
like
a fan of
almost,
the Tushy? That little Tushy, the big
Tushy
head
was
little
good,
Tushy?
man. Listen, I got no gripes with MODOK. I think like the thing that's kind of wild to me is that it seems like they did more than double down on the weirdness of the character as is in the comics. I don't know a ton about MODOK, but like Jesus, the amount of times that we see Corey Stoll's fucking big bald squished head in
Yeah.
that fucking suit. I was like, this is a delight. I can't believe this is happening.
I
Yeah,
it's wild to me that the technology we've advanced so much. Avatar Way of Water just came out. There's some, insane deep fake stuff, AI stuff going on
yeah.
with special effects. It's insane to me that giant face on little robot body hasn't improved since George Lopez's Spy Kids villain outing. That kind of leveled out and plateaued. That whatever that technology is, I don't know what it's called at ILM, but it stayed kind of the same. And
Yeah.
we'll see what happens in the next 50 years between the next one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I do agree with that. And you bring up like I think possibly at least the most recent like root of my concerns and like kind of issues with this movie is that like the most recent new big blockbuster I saw was Avatar: The Way of Water. I think I'm pretty sure. Um, and you know that's a special movie. Jim Cameron is a very specific, unique director who's very he's a perfectionist. All these things, yada yada yada. Um, but man, do I really feel the drop in a lot of aspects from going from something like that to this movie. I just think like not it's not really quite as polished. Things, the villains and kind of like the plot in general is a little more. It's feeling familiar. I'm really starting to feel that kind of like familiar Marvel thing. Let me just look in the top right corner and remember what podcast I'm on for just a second here.
No, I
Yeah,
think we said some of those same things on our spoiler free pod,
yeah,
which is, where in you the similarities of what happens when you need to do things like find an object or find an army that will fight on your behalf or
yeah,
find a giant CGI thing, and then make sure there's plenty of moments of just clear levity, throughout those intense action sequences and stuff. Like that happens
yeah.
a lot in all of the Marvel stuff.
And I just think that like like I feel like I'm like a pretty like optimistic person when it comes to like movies and kind of the landscape of things and things like this. And I think that like growing pains, maybe that's not the right word. Like what happens like 15 years into a thing? Because that's kind of where we're at now.
That's kind of
Uh,
when I took a my downward spiral was when I turned 15.
yeah, for people, I guess it's accurate for 15, but yeah, I just think that like I think what we're kind of seeing now with like press stuff about them kind of pumping the brakes on things. I think that's a good decision because I think that like they threw a lot at us in the last year or two. Shows, movies, new characters, new stories, and I think that like I'm feeling it with this movie. I'm feeling it with this movie of like the yeah. I'm not. This isn't. I'm not really feeling the magic much anymore, and so
Oh,
maybe a thing.
Brett's not feeling the magic. Holy shit! Oh, hold on. Let me. Joe Biden is cutting into live programming
Oh shit!
to
He's putting the
talk about.
sunglasses on. Oh shit! Um, yeah, I just think that like, and maybe part of this is me getting older too, but it's like I think like they could use something fresh, and like whether that's just like I don't know, some new writers with some new kind of like different ideas or something, but I don't know. It's just I just felt like something was missing in this one. But that being said, I still had like a really good time. There's a lot of like fun moments, like the stuff with the ant army, all that shit. I thought was like I think you guys were talking about like it is very Rick and Morty. Like that's like how you start a Rick and Morty
Oh,
episode.
it's hard sci-fi too. It is about time and all of the it's an insane thing. And they set a lot of it up, and it's maybe one of the only reasons why Hank Pym is in the movie is his love of ants. And he just kind of gets thrown into the situations, but then it comes in handy, right? Right when it needs
because
to be.
for like 80% of the movie, I was like, damn, did Mike Douglas just show up and like shove his arms in some fucking gooey sockets and he got like $5 million or whatever?
I do love the idea that Bill Murray, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Michael Douglas were in a throuple. I like that combination.
Yeah,
it's a fun one that I don't think we've ever seen.
Absolutely, it's a fresh thing, man. Yeah, Bill Murray was in this.
I say that, say that it's nice to see them all together, but I got the sense they may have never been in the same room ever.
I absolutely got that sense.
It's nice that the characters were together, I guess, even though Bill Murray probably was in makeup for like most of the day and then did his stuff and got out. But
they filmed it in his house against a green screen. Like that's that's a lot of the movie feels like that too, man. It's like I don't know how you fix that though. It's just like the movie's very pretty, don't get me wrong. Like there's some incredible imagery in it. But when you got to put people in front of it, it's like okay.
Ant-Man has always been one of the funnier franchises within the MCU. They're all really lighthearted. Like even in the darkest ones, they make jokes constantly. So it's not a huge tonal difference, but Guardians has the same kind of playful sense. But in an Ant-Man movie starring Paul Rudd, there was probably going to be an oversampling of jokes, which I was like, there are some characters in the movie that are only there for a good time, and it's pretty wild, especially when you're in the quantum realm and you have liberties of like being able to do anything. So a creature that is only a joke is really, really fun too. But it's
is okay. So we're talking
got
about
a lot of whole jokes. We got whole jokes. You got mind reading jokes. Like you can do anything.
That was Jonathan Groff, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure that whole guy, the little pink guy.
No, that is Polka Dot Man. I don't know how to say his name. From Suicide Squad.
You mean Peter DeVries from Dune?
And he's also in Batman, I think. I don't know.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I don't know I should find his name.
But whole guy.
Malkian? Yeah.
Something Dastmalkian.
David. Dastmalkian.
Yeah. Oh, so that was
but he's whole, just like he's whole guy.
He's whole guy.
Pretty good.
You have
so we talked a little bit about. I mean, those are your first impressions. So if we get like, if I just want to ask you, like, what did you think of? You talked about Jonathan Majors already. What do you think about Kang? What do you think about his inclusion or his introduction in an Ant-Man movie, basically? And what do you think about, Kang the Conqueror, the Council of Kangs, and how the next phase potentially is just, many versions of Jonathan Majors?
I think it has the potential to be something really cool because Jonathan Majors is a great actor. I think it's all going to come down to the execution of it. I think for in this movie, like one of the big exposition scenes, I think like didn't really land for me. It was when like Kang was like explaining some of his past. It was like near the end that kind of like exposition that felt like adjacent to like the Guardians of the Galaxy Thanos stones, exposition scene. That I was like, yeah, it is harder to do Kang because it's like it's kind of a complicated, very kind of messy thing that he has going on with like the multiverses
which we had already seen in a Loki.
Yeah, true.
The One Who Remains, yeah, that variant of Kang was also introduced in Loki, and they basically all generally believe the same thing. There's obviously variances, but
Yeah.
they're all trying to they're all trying to control the timeline, and I guess the Conqueror is trying to destroy them all.
See, that's kind of what I'm
That's what I'm
confused
saying.
about. I'm
That's
like,
like
I don't know who wants what,
Kang.
and like,
Kang's gonna be the big villain in everything from now on. So yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. That's why there's this big long form storytelling thing that is happening because this makes Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania feel a little bit less of a movie. But if you stay for the after credits scene, you also got the sense that the Kangs are riled up about something, you know,
yeah.
and like they need to call all of the Kangs, and that's how it ends. And you assume we're not getting like a Kang movie, so the only continuation of that storyline will probably be in like after credits here or there, or I don't know. Like, but it's a weird thing. Like we've got like a background thing happening that is
Yeah.
all Kang.
Well, isn't the next actual Avengers movie called Kang Dynasty?
Hmm.
So that's
But
like, yeah,
there's also a whole season of Loki coming out in a couple months,
right, yeah,
which
with the
potentially will have him
yeah. It seems
everywhere.
like it's
It's
gonna have
yeah.
him.
It happens in the comic books, but it's just wild to think there's one guy and one character who's going to be different versions of the bad guy, and I don't know how many times people will watch Kang die and feel like something big happened. Does that make sense? Or if eventually they're just going to be like, okay, they killed Kang again.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Oh no, they
which
killed
this is
Kang.
this is Kang number 2 already that has died.
That is a very good point, man. Because yeah, I mean, it's and that I think speaks to like a bigger multiverse problem. Of it's a very cool thing to introduce, but I think quickly gets out of hand and can kind of like yeah, like you have issues with stakes, so you have to like I don't know, like kind of like come up with a new kind of stakes to when you have kind of like all these variants of people. It's why like everything everywhere all at once works so well because it's like one and done, man. We're out, like one
Mm.
movie. But when you have an ongoing story with like potential, I don't know, you build the stakes with Kang. Does that make
You
sense?
could do the Matrix thing. Have that scene with all of the Mr. Smiths fighting Neo. There's a
Oh
million of him.
yeah,
That you Brent, that's going to happen in the Avengers movie.
it's gonna happen as long as
Hmm.
he's dressed up like Mr. Smith and
Yeah,
it's
just
recreating
a
that scene.
billion. I mean, I'm excited because Jonathan Major seems like he's going, and we already saw some of the different voices he'll have, the
Yeah,
different mannerisms. The very very end or the very very final last credit after credit scene. I don't know what to call
the
that
post
last one.
credits.
The post credit scene is kind of a nerdy version of himself with Loki watching, so that's going to be exciting to watch. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm curious how larger things can get, and I know it's time. And look, maybe they should have hired Christopher Nolan, like classic timeline adjuster,
You
to
think
manage.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you think he's just been fully out
Yeah,
on the MCU, and then he sees this one, and he's like, he like leans forward in his seat, and he's like,
I'm in.
Kevin, I want to make one of these films.
I'm
Uh,
in. Well,
yeah,
it's. I think after he watched this movie, Christopher Nolan probably is just pissed because the all of the time tension, apart from maybe some of Michelle Pfeiffer being gone for so long, is sort of just ignored. Like, Christopher Nolan would be like, why don't they talk more about the son and daughter missing 5 years of their lives,
yeah.
or like what like I think he'd be like, why aren't they like
Addressing
exploring that only?
any of it,
Yeah,
it feels like
just
this.
making that the biggest thing of the movie. Yeah,
Yeah,
which is what happens in shoot, what's the Matthew McConaughey Nolan one?
Interstellar.
Interstellar. Yeah, that was a big
You gotta
time one
feel
too.
time, man. Time
You
is
gotta feel time.
it can be its own.
Yeah.
It can be its own form of stakes if used
Yeah.
well. So it's like
It's one of the I'm gonna sound like I'm on shrooms or something,
oh
but
boy,
time is like one of the most cinematic elements of
hey,
like film because you could actually, rewind things, change it, I don't think there are a lot of other art forms that let you do that. Man,
that's
brother.
that's a Tarkovsky quote, man. What is it?
Wow.
Cinema is the something of time. I forget it, but yeah,
Did he say Kang?
it's the Kang of
He's like
time. Yeah, and
Tarkovsky
a lot of
said
people don't know this.
Kang.
Kang is the villain in Stalker, and a lot of people haven't
Oh
known
wow.
the deal with that for until now, and they're like, "Wow, what if you just go back and watch like any movie,
Everything.
and he's
Yeah.
just in everything?" It's like, what the?
Kangs and everything. That's going to happen at some point.
It's
Anyways, I want to ask you, I guess, also about the quantum realm. What do you think about the quantum realm? It's pretty stuff,
yeah,
wild stuff,
it
a lot of
was really
slugs.
cool. I liked that was like maybe kind of my favorite element of the movie is like how like cool that stuff looked and like I always love like weird I mean listen, Star Wars is like my favorite thing. I love it. It gave me Star Wars vibes. I was like, oh, we
Oh
got
yeah,
like weird little like communities and like houses that live and like our little
yeah,
pink friend said like what did
yeah.
he say about them being dead? Oh, he's like, oh yeah, he's like
Yours aren't. Yeah,
or something like
yeah.
that.
Also, you have to drink his. You have to drink him to like understand. I
Everybody
thought that was
does.
really cool. I
They had
was
him at
like,
the
that.
bar. Yeah,
This is wild, and it's so. I mean, and obviously played for a lot of comedic effect, but very very fun stuff and very creative, and honestly, a lot of old school sci-fi stuff going on here.
for sure. Yeah. It. I did want to like make a joke at some point and say like, I like this movie better when it was called Strange World because they're
Wow,
very
that's
similar.
I
But
said the same thing. I was like, this is closer to like Journey to the Center of the Earth or A Strange World, where it
yeah,
is about strange realms.
exactly. Yeah, it gave me that, but live action. But it was cool. It was a lot of fun. Like seeing cool. Not even aliens, I guess. I guess they're like quantum beings or something.
Mm,
But yeah, all that stuff was really fun, and I thought like executed pretty well.
yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of this is great relationships between the main characters. I think we got a lot of. I mean, I really like the Kang and Michelle Pfeiffer stuff. That was pretty cool
Yeah,
together. And they should have just made like I would have watched an hour and a half of that.
I would have too. Like, yeah, just like two great actors, just like stuck together, and they have to like work together to. That was a
get out of
yeah,
there,
cool
and the
element.
person you help is evil, and that's some more crazy just sci-fi stuff. She sees his mind because the ship is
Telekinetic.
like it's
Yeah,
telekinetic, and I was like, whoa, man, this is some crazy movie stuff.
yeah,
Super creative
yeah.
stuff.
It was cool. Yeah, and that made me think like with all the variants. It'd be cool to see a Kang that was like good. Like I'm sure there's a variant
Good
of
Kang.
good Kang, but
Gang.
then again, maybe he's killed already.
Yeah.
But like he also
I'm
killed Avengers
yeah.
already. I come out of
He's
this
killed
movie
Molly.
like cool, good, had fun, got a
Yeah.
lot of questions, a lot of questions.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
there's all I mean the I mean I think this is because there's so much great Kang in this that we're talking about Kang so much. But there's also the fun kind of hints at who the other Kang's timelines are. Like we saw an Egyptian Kang.
Yeah,
And I
right.
was like, is this like Moon Knight type stuff, And I don't know if we saw anyone else that's related to the Disney Plus stuff anywhere. But a lot of Kang. And I assume there's a Kang in every multiverse, and all of the objects that we're seeing bouncing around, like the bangles and stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
probably have Kang's fingerprints on
Oh,
them.
I got a feeling.
He's just slinging objects everywhere. The 10 rings there, mutants here, Deadpool there.
Yeah.
All of that stuff is happening.
Yeah,
Um,
I also I don't know where they go after Kang, dude. It's like I think they have to after Kang. I think that's when you go like shrink it back down. Let's bring the X-Men in, and like X-Men obviously has like all of the
yeah.
kind of
Well,
like yeah
I don't know how true this is, but the rumor is on the streets. Okay, I'm always running around Marvel Studios alleys, just thinking of talking, thinking.
yeah.
Um, the rumor is once this phase of Avenger films are done, this Kang Dynasty, it's just Galactus, and then the MCU will end. Like they will just end, and they'll wait a little bit before reboot. So that's the rumor. Not a lot of details, but it is interesting to think that they will not just continue this forever like a James Bond type franchise. That it will
That
it
is
will
interesting.
eventually just stop or something somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. Huh, that's interesting. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's always good to have like an end goal in
Yeah.
mind, you know, because it's like I'm sure Feige's got to be thinking like
Oh yeah.
we can't just keep because even the comics don't do that. Like a writer will
Yeah.
sure work on something for like years, but then be like not
My
forever, and then
Superman
somebody else will
died.
be like,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I assumed that it was a long term forever thing because they keep introducing the next generation of superheroes. Cassie Lang's in this, but throughout all of the everything after Endgame and some before, it's been a lot of well, who's the next Hawkeye? Who's the next Black Widow? And they are passing it to a younger generation. So I was like, oh my gosh, is this just gonna continue until we're on like Black Widow 6,
yeah.
Robot Child or whatever? I don't know.
No, in
But
what's the next season of? No, no, no. It's the movie. The next Captain America movie. There's going to
mm,
be like a little baby, and the little
oh,
baby's
Baby
going to have a little
America.
shield, and then that baby is going to grow up into the next Captain America.
Yeah.
It's going to be
And
great.
then Disney pays the actors less and less as it goes on to where by the end that guy is paying Disney to be the 17th Captain America.
Yeah.
All right. Any other final thoughts about this movie? I know we talked about a lot of stuff and there's a lot that we missed, which is why we're doing a whole longer hour long, maybe more spoiler full conversation with John and Drew later on. But any other
Yeah.
big takeaways from you?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know this has been like just a shotgun blast of like right fresh out of the theater kind of thoughts on this movie. But you know, I had a lot of fun with it. It was a really good time. You know, I think I am one of these people that hasn't been kind of on the Marvel fatigue terminology bandwagon. But
Yeah.
listen, what I will say now is that I get it a little bit. Like I'm starting to
Yeah.
like I get it, and I'm like, there is a lot, and there's a lot going on, and there's new people. It's kind of they have a lot of similarities and stuff, but no, it's a lot of fun still, and I think Paul Rudd is excellent as ever, and I really like the stuff with like him
Mm.
and Cassie, and Kang is fucking great. I can't wait to see him play just like I don't know, like a few dozen different types of Kangs. It just feels like the most expensive acting exercise that's ever been
Mm-hmm.
put in film. So listen, I'm gonna be there for all of them. But you know, if Feige wants to like slow down a little bit and just kind of like you know, just you know, just kind of plan
Yeah.
things out a little bit. Not
Yeah.
that he hasn't planned all this meticulously, but it's fun. It's fun. I had a good time.
Yeah. And I think on the broader sense, I mean, I don't know if I mean, I think there may be some just tempering of expectations, from the audience after you build it to a fever pitch and then release
Yeah.
Endgame with portal scenes.
Oh
And
yeah.
then even afterwards, there's a Spider-Man movie with all of the Spider-Man. And, there's kind of this thing that they've done where not everything could match whatever the last giant serotonin high was for audiences.
Yeah.
And so we'll see if that continues because I think there's a lot about this movie that's incredibly impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there are cameos. Bill Murray is in this movie, but I don't know when it will be enough. Brent, I don't
Yeah.
know when it'll be enough.
You bring up an excellent point though, and I'll just say this so we can end. But
yeah,
to be a victim of your own success, and
hoisted by your own petard.
There you go. Like you killed it.
That's
so
how I
hard.
say it.
Yeah, you killed it so hard on Endgame. It was an incredible experience. Like you nailed it. Like you absolutely nailed the final. Bam! You killed it. Spider-Man, like was its own like kind of like adjacent success. And then it's kind of like, it feels like we're in kind of a slightly like finding our footing zone now, which is fine, which is I expected, So I'm excited to see them, continue.
I think I figured that something was very. I figured expectations were really high when people said there weren't enough cameos in Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah,
and I was like, "What do you? Oh my gosh! Like I don't know what is expected, but it could be that we're just kind of resetting what that is. Because I mean, this one had Kang in it. This one's pretty intense.
And like people's
They're still swinging for it.
Like I think people's expectations, and then like Marvel's kind of plans and what they want to do might be starting to diverge a little bit. And that'll be interesting to see how people react. I honestly haven't heard much about people's takes on this movie. But I'm going to check them out and dive online, unfortunately. So we'll see.
Well, either way, the movie I think is really fun and really funny. And Kang is really fantastic. And that's why we talk about him so much. A new and very interesting character in the MCU, and one that we'll be seeing a lot more of. So let us know what you think about Countdown to Infinity. Or shit, that's our pod. Let us know what you think of Ant-Man and the Wasp. Don't tell us. Quantumania, don't tell us how you think about our pod, okay? We get the hate mail. But let us know what you think. Find us on social media at Delphin Pod. So, Brent, I was about to call you Sophia just out of habit.
Oh, well, I mean...
Freudian slip, am I right? Oh, great. Now I'm hard. Brent.
Yeah.
What do you have to plug?
Listen to all the Delphin Pod Patreon stuff if you haven't. There's a lot of fun things there that are so much fun to record and talk about, like Screen Slush. We're still doing top fives every now and then. We're talking like award season things. Lots of fun stuff there, so check it out.
That's it for this episode. Again, we'll have another one that's much longer with John and Andrew, where we will, Wikipedia some stuff, and then play a fun game. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Brent. Oh, shoot, where's my mouse? Oh, there it is. Oh my gosh, I can't end the record. Okay, there we go. Bye.
See ya.